you've got to be able to put enough money away and or borrow enough money to really give yourself a shot to start the business correctly.
It's 2022. Why are people still messing up their martial arts business with all this knowledge and resources? And
We've never been at a, I think it's a difficult question, and I think there's multiple different answers. Um, the sport itself, there's a lot of ego in this sport, right? I mean, some people can set it down at the doorway, but most carry a little bit of it onto the mat with them, and maybe that's healthy. But they do the same thing with business. First and foremost, just because you love jiu-jitsu and it's a part of your life, and all your friends are jiu-jitsu people, and their friends are jiu-jitsu people, does not mean that you yourself should own a gym. Just because it's all you know how to do, and maybe you didn't like school so much, it doesn't mean that you need to go borrow money from your family, or for worse, from a bank or someone, and I want to go set up a jiu-jitsu gym. This is what I want to do the rest of my life. Now, have there been people who've done that and created a business that allows them to live? Absolutely. Yes. It is amazing in this life how people with little talent but a lot of nerve and grit can make something work. That doesn't mean you should, though. Okay? It really doesn't mean that you should. Just because you have the grit and determination, you have to ask yourself, one, I want to form a business that is a martial arts center. The next question is this a business or is this a hobby?
that's a lot of these guys are out here is a hobby. It's just a hobby.
It's a hobby, so I'm going to be what could afford a lot of off time? A firefighter. I'm going to be a firefighter because they're going to get, they're going to work like 312s or whatever. They're going to work
something crazy. Some
48 hours a week, but they're going to do it in 3 days, right? And then they're going to have all this other time. That's a good example. Because I have seen people who are firefighters then start their, like a jiu-jitsu martial arts center. That doesn't mean that because you have the time that you should do that. Because if it's a business, if you're opening your doors to the public and it's a business, then it needs to be that. It does not need to be a hobby. There are too many, this is, of course, it's my opinion. We're talking, right? But it's my opinion. But there are a lot of people that hurt our sport, and it's our sport. I mean, you've been doing it 20 years?
Yeah, close.
Yeah, and I've been doing it 23 since really 19, 98, 99. So a long time. And there are people out here that really hurt our sport because first and foremost, the guys that are doing it well. And we can think off the top of our heads the guys that are doing it well.
Maybe one hand.
Yeah, one hand, right? You devalue our sport when it's a hobby for you. B, you don't really open a space. You go to I don't know, I'm making something up now, but you go to a gym and you lease out, a part of aerobics room floor with some mats for $100 a month. And you got people in there training and you're charging, if you're charging $50, in my opinion, if you're charging $50 for jiu-jitsu, you're hurting our sport. Because the amount of time, and not only hurting our sport, you're devaluing yourself. What did you spend to become a black belt in jiu-jitsu?
As far as time and energy.
Time, energy, my money?
Yeah.
I spent more time than it would have took me to get a doctorate, and you name whatever doctorate or PhD. That's how long it took me, plus the money, the time away from a family, as we discussed before. Jesus Christ, you throw my 2 divorces in there, and I've really put some money behind jiu-jitsu. Not saying jiu-jitsu was responsible for both of them, but it had something to do with it. It was the time away. So if you put all that time and effort and money, I really can't stand it when I see, quasi schools. They're not really schools. It's quasi places that are charging $50 a month for jiu-jitsu. And I'm just like, you're devaluing what it really means. Mm-hmm. And the time it took to get, and I know it. There's all these instructors out there too. They need money. They want money. They want to teach, and they're getting paid to teach, and then they're bringing in $50 a month for jiu-jitsu, and it's just, you need to decide if it's going to be your business, and then you need to really focus on it. Focus on what? Okay, then now get to the nitty gritty. What do I see being success? You've got to build a big enough business so that you can reinvest constantly. Like back in the gym days when I was running gyms and back real early jiu-jitsu days, there wasn't social media, right? There wasn't any of that. What we're doing right now, you couldn't even do this when we started. So if you wanted to drum up business, you had to do like free giveaways. And you would do like lead boxes. I bet that's something most people listening don't even know what the hell it is. But a long time ago, you may see them some places, but it's kind of went away. Mm-hmm. But back then, you had to think about, where are the people going outside my business? What other businesses are they using that it kind of coincide with my business? So you had like supplement stores, right? Mm-hmm. You had supplement stores, you had GNC, you had, more athletic people. So you would think most of the time, hopefully to God, our police are more athletic. Sometimes they're not. Yep. Sometimes they're not so athletic, but you would think police, you would think fire departments, you would think, local school athletic team. You would think more athletically, right? And then you would do like lead boxes. Maybe, Subway was supposed to be healthy a long time ago. Oh, yeah, right? We thought it was healthy. Yeah, we thought it was healthy. Yeah. So we would put lead boxes in Subways, and people would come in, they'd sign their name, they'd sign their phone, they'd sign their email, they'd tear off a slip, and they'd stick it in the box, and what they were putting their name in for was a free year membership.
Oh, yeah, wow.
Yeah.
Oh, free.
Woo! It wasn't free because we were going to, salespeople, which on the other end a long time ago, I was on the other end of it, we're going to hound the hell out of you, right? We were going to call you, we're going to email you, trying to get you into back then it was gyms or martial arts, and we'd try to get you in and then, sell you a membership, get you to start it. But today, you're still doing that, right? But it is so much, in my opinion, simpler. Is there more noise? Mm-hmm. Yes. But what we had to go through a long time ago to get those names together, to create a lead system, to call all these people, to get them in. Think about all the running around it took. And money. You had to fold these cardboard boxes that you bought from these marketing companies, and then you had to go out and you had to service them every week. You had to pick up these names and then run the calls. I mean, it was hell. Now, the algorithm on Instagram or Facebook or whatever you're going to use knows. They know who your people are, right? Mm-hmm. So all you've got to do is spend the money to get your advertising in front of those right people, which the algorithms are smarter than...
Exactly. Oh, Matt has this hobby.
That's correct. It knows the hobby.
He's this age. He makes this much. He's friends with that guy.
He knows my friends, right? If Facebook looked at my friends and they saw I have 50 jillion jiu-jitsu friends, it's just like, well, that's the advertisement I'm going to get, right? Mm-hmm. So, but I know martial arts centers now that don't even do that. Their advertisement is like, oh, I have a web page. Yeah. How are you getting people to your web page?
I have, I do a little bit of marketing. Well, I market myself, but for me to get my friends to post is tough. Like, hey man, you have a school, just post. Just get your phone, do this during the class, and post it. Right. That's like I'm pulling hairs.
Yeah, they don't. Again, it's not a business for them. It's a hobby for them. Mm-hmm. And, I feel for them in a lot of ways because, in a way, you got to build your business big enough to where you can get an allotment of money to put towards that so it'll then build bigger. Mm-hmm. But you got to think about that. Lots of businesses. There's people out here all over the place that are doing side jobs, and that's from everything. Everybody's got some kind of side gig now. You've got to be able to put enough money away and or borrow enough money to really give yourself a shot to start the business correctly. Mm-hmm. And one and foremost and four is going to be, you got to have, one, a good product. So if you're a purple belt or a blue belt out there, don't start a gym, in my opinion. Have the money and for it to go buy, to go pay somebody to actually be a good teacher for you. But there's so many times where the answer for, well, I'm going to get an instructor is I'm going to go get a world champion from whoever's the world champion at the time, you know, and they change every year. And I'm going to bring them in, we're going to start a school, and I'm going to pay them so much, and my school is going to be... That does, just because you're a world champion does not mean you're a good instructor. Does not mean that you can connect on a personal level with all these students. And it comes back to the first thing we said. Is it a business or is it a hobby? You just want to train with a world champion, you're willing to pay them whatever you're going to have to pay them per year to teach your classes? Okay, but that doesn't mean you're going to have a successful business.
That's true, yeah.
So, great product. 2, you've got to market. And the best way to market now is through social media. I mean, by far and foremost, that's where you should be spending 80% of your advertising dollars. And then that's when I think the real hard work starts. The real hard work starts after the marketing piece of it, because now you got to work on the internal piece of your martial arts center. So, for lack of a better word, we can call it mentorship, right? I talked to a friend actually last weekend. We got in a conversation about martial arts business, and I thought he did a good job of calling it a mentorship. Because when we started a long time ago, it was a lion's den, right? You came in, you were like the fresh steak, and they just tossed you on the mat, and the lions went to work on you, right? They tweaked an arm, they tweaked a knee, they tweaked the ankle, and that meant you had purple belts rolling with white belts, and purple belts that were trained to complete. They were never taught to go, let's roll with these white belts. Let's teach them. Don't tap them, right?
Oh, no,
just roll with them. No, we were going to crush you. We were going to, and if you made it, if you were tough enough to make it the first 6 months of the year, well, welcome to the team. But until that point, I don't even want to know your first name. That's because true, we're losing so many people out the back door because they're hurt, they're beat up, they're going home to their family, you know, with gi marks across their face, and all their wife's like, "What are you doing? I thought you were just trying to lose some weight, right, or get in better shape." So the third thing is you got to create like a mentorship. White belts, in my opinion, should train with white belts and then should train with above. Like purple, brown, not blues.
The blue belts?
Not blues. Because blues are, in my opinion, white belts have been the one that have hurt me the worst in my career, just because I didn't give them enough respect for like just pure brute strength, and get caught in something, or they fall and land on me, or just something like that, right? But blue belts are dangerous because they know just enough to be dangerous, right? We teach them, we give them a blue belt, and they all of a sudden they can kick 90% of their friends' asses, which they've tried it, right? We don't think so, but they've tried it on some beer brawl night, right? Over at their house or out at the bar, they grab some friend that doesn't know what the hell they're doing. They're like, wow, I can really manhandle these people, right? The blue belts are the most dangerous people in the gym, in my opinion. That's why as a black belt, I have no mercy on a blue belt, right? I go just as hard as they go, but as soon as they turn up the dial, it's on. Because they're the most, in my opinion, they're the most dangerous. The white belts, but the mentorship, I'm sorry, I got off track, but let me give the mentorship. White belts should train with like purple belts. I mean, and I know we don't do it that way because now we have like intermediate.
You're saying like when we pair up for techniques?
When we pair up for techniques, when we pair so they can learn. But the purple belts have to all, and brown belts, black belts, brown belts, black belts probably already know it. At least most of us have the mentality to know it. We got to pull those purple belts aside and go, listen, your job now is to be almost an instructor to these guys. They need to look up to you, right? They need to look up to you. You need to be answering the questions. You need to be checking in with them. That's the key word in, this where we are in society today, but checking in. Where are you? What do you feel about this? What do you not understand? Here are the things. Here's an easier way to do it, or here's something that you're missing. That's what the purple belts should be doing for the white belts. I don't know what we do with the blue belts right now.
do anything. We just fuck them up.
I know.
All right.
I mean, I don't know what we do with the blue belts right now. I'm a little lost there. But from white, they should go for the purple. Purple should help them. Of course, browns and blacks should help them out. But we shouldn't tap them, right? There's a way to roll with people where they know that, oh my God, I have no chance whatsoever, without putting them in a bow and arrow every 3 seconds. Gi marks across their face. They can't even defend themselves. We don't have to do all that. Blue belts, I think, are fair game, but we need that mentorship with number 3. We need that mentorship within the team, and the team needs to understand it. Right? That's how we keep more of the blues. That's how we turn more of the whites into blues and kind of keep more of them. And then we need to identify people within our schools that could be instructors. And let me say this. This is not your best competitor. And I want to say that almost straight out to the camera for people who run schools who may be thinking this. It is not your best competitor. Right? In sales, we have this, and I've been selling since I was 15, from medical sales and finance, financial, lots of different things. Your best salespeople tend to be not your best managers. It is 2 different things. It's same with your best competitors are not your best instructors. It is 2 different things. Can you instruct, teach, pass your information on? Versus, can you win gold medals? 2 different type of mindsets. Now, can your best competitors become it? Sure, but it takes time.
Yeah, it's a different skill set.
Different skills. Way too often we see business owners go, "Well, you're my best competitor. You won worlds, so you're going to be the instructor." And you go into these classes, and they're terrible at instructing. They're terrible at teaching, and it's like, this is not what you're... Again, is this a hobby or is this a business? Because if this is a business, I'm trying to show empathy to my class. And you have to be empathetic, because 99% of the people that are supporting your business and growing your business are not going to compete and don't care about it, right? Half of them don't even know what the world is, right? Or the Pan Ams, they're never going to watch it. They're never going to pull up flow roll.
Or flow grappling.
Flow grappling. They're not going to pull up flow grappling and watch the ADC or the Pans or the Worlds. They're never going to do any of that. They're going to be playing in the park with their kids on Saturday. So what are we doing? It's just a bad decision to make to put a competitor, especially a young one that's just in their prime, as an instructor. You shouldn't, in my opinion, you shouldn't do that. It just doesn't translate well, because you're trying to build up your base. And then you have to have a good kids program, number 4.
Jesus Christ, yeah.
Well, so, Alec, you tell me, why do you think you need a good kids program?
I mean, it's more students. If you guys watched the other podcast, we talked about having access to more wallet, with the parents, 2 parents.
Okay, yes. So it is always easier to hold more clientele where someone else is paying for that clientele. And what do parents want? Parents want their kids to have a better life than they did, right? So, if they got picked on as a kid, they don't want their kid to be picked on. If they see their kid in a situation where, they don't have a lot of friends, or they're kind of going inside, right? They don't have as many friends, or they're less apt to they want to get them in environments where they have more friends. And jiu-jitsu martial arts will build their confidence, makes them feel better, makes them feel like, if they have a bully at school, makes them feel like, I'm not that afraid of that bully. I know what it feels like to be in combat, So it's good. And too many people, again, what do? They have the same instructors that are teaching the advanced adult classes, teaching the kids classes.
Yeah, they do.
And that is a way different skill set.
Yeah, it's
right?
a different skill set.
The level of patience you've got to have versus teaching adults versus teaching kids, and being able to get on their level and connect with them and manage that chaos of herding cats out there. I mean, I couldn't do it. I couldn't do it. I've seen you. It's all Darren back then. I said it takes a different sort mentally to control and run all that. And again, what they do is they just pull the instructor from whomever. But again, some of these schools, they can't invest. They can't invest on a new instructor that's needed. But the kids program is so important because again, you have to control, as we talked about before, you have to control more wallet. And controlling wallets is really simple. It's just, I have a clientele who comes into my business, and this is whatever business. Every business out here does it, just martial arts centers do it very, very poorly. Especially advanced. If I have adults coming in and they're training martial arts with me, they're probably taking supplements. They're probably doing protein. They also want other people to know that they're training jiu-jitsu, so they want t-shirts, they want athletic gear, they want bags, there's a host of different things that you should be supplying to your clientele. And often the pro center, as we would call it in gym sales, the pro center is kind of an afterthought.
There's a hanger. It would be hanging off right there. One t-shirt, one really extra small t-shirt. Yes. With some cobwebs on it.
Right. There's never enough t-shirts. There's never the right sizes. The gis come in, notoriously late. Like they'll come in 6 months, 9 months late, and it's like, well, we don't have any gis. We don't want you guys wearing gis from wherever we can order them, and just putting our patch on there. No. You need a uniform for the school, but I can't supply you the uniform for the school because I didn't do my job as a business owner, right? So you run into a lot of that in martial arts centers. Kids program.
I got to find some of the old t-shirts we used to wear. Like there was some of the ugliest, God, bro, it would be the ugliest, just everything written on it.
They're almost nostalgic now.
Yeah, I kind of miss them, but
yeah.
I don't know.
I have them all. I really do. I have stacks of them that I refuse to throw away because
they have some holes in them, Matt.
They do. They've got holes in them, but it's almost nostalgic. Like sometimes, if UFC fights, if I know there's a bunch of old guys, I might put one of them on because it's 20 years old. Some of those shirts are 20 years old. But that needs to be done better. Also, executive programs, right? We want a thriving kids program. We want to control the wallet or more wallet of those parents through those kids. That's how the successful business rolls out. And then we want more wallet of our more successful adult clients. Okay? So business ladies and guys, doesn't matter which one, but one thing we don't do is, or some places do a good job of it, some places do not, but you want to be able to wash gis. You want a washer and dryer, because for me, I would pay more for a gym membership if they held my gi and held my stuff. Because when I have, appointments all over town, I have this and that, and it breaks up. Oh, I can make this lunch class today, but I don't have my stuff. I got to run to my house, get my bag, come back. No, I'm just not going to do it. But I would pay you more if I had a small locker. I trained jiu-jitsu. At the end, I dropped the gi off with the manager of the gym that day. They washed it, put it in my little stowaway cubby, locked it up, did whatever. I don't know how you would want to do that, but I would pay for that service. And then along with that executive membership, I get one private a month, right? I get just a little bit extra. If I'm paying a little more money, what am I paying for? What's that value? I've seen a couple of schools do it, and they do a really good. The better schools do a really good job at it. And then team camaraderie, the last one. You've got to be able to separate those people who are going to compete, because I think there's something good about competition schools, right? And there's something good about being known as a competition school because it's quality training, because you're having to up your your level of education of jiu-jitsu
yeah.
to be competitive, right? So what I often find is those schools who don't have a competition team or not competitive in the, in the worlds, the PANs, the IBJJF, you name it, the level of jiu-jitsu in that school is much, much lower. The reason it's much, much lower is because they don't compete. They don't have to. Mm-hmm. So they just regurgitate that same jiu-jitsu over and over and over and over, and the level just kind of stays the same. So I think you need a hybrid. You need a team that's competing, that's raising that level of jiu-jitsu, but you also got to know who your market is. There's only a certain group of people that's actually going to do that. 90% of the people where you make all your money, we're going to focus on self-defense. We're going to focus on stuff we were doing in 1998 to 2004, because if they know how to get out of headlocks, get out of bear hugs, defend against a guillotine, understand the closed guard, understand the open guard, understand how to scissor sweep from the bottom, understand how to block a punch. That's what those 95% of the people want to do. And so if you're teaching them the 50-50, and just a lot of this stuff is, it's good for tournament. It's good for those people who are going to compete, but for 95% of the people, it makes no difference. New
guy coming in, all right, new guy 50-50, heel hook.
What is that?
What the?
All that 10 years of information that it took to get to the 50-50 and the heel hook and everything else, it's just like, why aren't we doing this? I don't understand.
So that kids program, that's an area everybody's having issues with. I'm seeing a lot of schools, they're having trouble just getting instructors for the kids program. So
I can agree. It takes like we spoke about before, it takes the right type of mindset to teach a child, and it takes a level of patience that most instructors are not going to have. My friend in town, Kenny Kim, I think does one of the best jobs at a kids program, because he knows his strengths. He knows where his strengths are and where his strengths are not. And so he has a great instructor for the kids program, and they've had a good relationship, him and the instructor, for years now. And his kids program thrives. So,
and even just assistance. I see some massive programs, like our good friend Jeff Cummings has I go on Saturday, he's got about 30, 40 kids.
Wow.
And 2 instructors, him and the assistant. And I'm just like, man, Jesus Christ, they're outnumbered, outgunned. So.
Right. How do you deal with 30 or 40 kids with 2 people? Best you can, right?
Yeah, you do. Some kids inside over there fighting.
What do you think is the right ratio? 5-1, 6-1?
Yeah, it's got to be more than 2 to 30.
1
to 15,
2 to 20,
1 to 15, 1 to 20.
1 to 20. I don't know what it is either, but maybe 1 to 5, 1 to 6. But I think it also goes back to the point of mentorship and raising people up, right? Mm-hmm. There's the opportunity to get purple belts involved if they can, and give them the ability to start instructing, right? And then, but your job as a head instructor, maybe you have to instruct your 5 kids. Maybe it's 1 to 5 ratio. Maybe you have to instruct your 5 kids. But your job also is to watch the instruction from like the purple belts and the people below that have showed some interest in being an instructor, because you've got to help them be better, right? Mm-hmm. And that's in any organization of business. Right? Right now you're talking about leadership, leading from the middle, not leading from the front, but leading somewhere from the middle. So you've got to give them an example of what the best instruction is, but you also have to help them along, because the biggest problem that martial arts centers face, besides the 5 things we've talked about, is scalability, right? The reason they can't scale, there was a martial arts center in Atlanta years ago. I think it's still here, but years ago, and they had locations all over the place, right? And it failed. Not after 5 to 6 years. Maybe it's just business cycle, but it failed. But it failed because you couldn't get any great instruction at any of them, right? It was just whoever could show up at what other place that day. And So if you really want to build something that lasts, you've got to build basically the training from bottom up, and that's what I think the market is missing. Is missing like a flip the switch. Here's the business model and plan for your martial arts center. This is how you do it. And I know they're out there, and I've read some of them, but I think some of them miss the mark on a lot of different boats. Maybe that's something we should create together. But maybe that's something we should create together. It's like a flip your switch. This is the Bible. This is how you do it. This is the billing platform company that you use. This is the system that you use. This is how much money you should be putting into marketing every month. This is, really just a step by step. Because when I really think of it, no matter what a person charged for that, it would be too little.
Yeah.
Because any business owner go, well, that's way too much. I can't afford that. And my answer would be, you can't afford not to.
It's obviously not working. Like I've seen so many schools, come and go, and just so many schools struggling.
That's right.
The head instructor is teaching all the classes. He's burned out. He's teaching kids classes he hates.
It happened. Well, you got to think longer term, and most people can't, right? Most people, if they're thinking about the present day, they get up at whatever hour they get up, and they're just thinking about making it through their day. And that's the difference in between being a business owner and being an employee, right? And just because your name is on that LLC and just because your name is on those checks does not mean that you're an owner. There are many people out here that have those things and they're still an employee. Yeah. Because what they did is they just bought themselves a job. They saved up $50,000 or pick whatever number you want to invest in their business. And what they did was they just traded the income they were getting from some other job for their jiu-jitsu gym that's giving them the same amount of income, but yet they can't grow their income in their business because they're an employee. They're the head instructor that's burned out because he can't teach kids classes, advanced classes, and all these other things because they didn't think about what it was going to take to have a true business. Because if you have a business, that means that there's enough profit in your business that you are actually out or up above. Let's say this is a better advantage point. You're up above like a 30,000 foot looking down on your business, and you can see everything and you can make changes because you have a manager that's actually managing your business and you're working to make it bigger. And more importantly, if your goal is a business and you're in a martial arts center, you're working on more locations. You're working on, now I've got one, I've got two, now I've got three. You're working on owning that city that you're in, owning that town, owning that market. You can't do that if you're
working you're in the trenches.
No, if you're in the trenches, you can't see the forest for the trees.
Yeah.
You're just, wow, I've got 10 students this week, I've got 15 the next. Wow, I'm growing.
Oh, we've lost it.
Well, we lost 2 last month, so I'm about equal. You've got to be far enough above and away from the business to actually look at the financials, and how many of these owners that we've got today don't understand a balance sheet?
Yeah.
Don't understand simple, I'm not saying they don't understand simple math, but don't understand a balance sheet, don't understand accounting, don't understand when they should buy certain things so that, they don't count for taxes this year, they count for taxes next. And there's a lot to it. And you need to be able to either understand all of it yourself or pay people appropriately to help you build that.
That's the trouble. They won't open that wallet, even if it'll save them.
No, I've seen too many examples of classes growing from, just pick a number, from 25 and now they're at 50 2 months later because they started doing something. They actually started marketing, and they get to 50 and they're like, maybe get to 55 and they're like, 2 more months they're still at 55 and they're like, why aren't we growing 100% like we were. It's like, well, what it took you to get to 55, it's going to take something different
to get to the next level.
To get to the next level, and then the next, and there's a level past that. And there's not a lot of good examples. That's a problem in the martial arts centers. I mean, most of the owners, do you know, are they seeking out other owners that are doing better than they are and asking them questions?
A small minority. A very small minority.
Right. Because it's ego. Do you think it's because I don't know what it is?
Ego, or just like you said, they just too engulfed in the gym that they can't even look to get help. You know, they can't even ask to get rescued. Like, hey, help me! Like they're just
treading water.
Yeah, they're going under to come back up. They're
just trying to keep their head above water. Yeah,
mm-hmm.
There was no good plan from the onset. So, there's a need, and I mean for me, I want to see it get better because it's my sport, right? It's something I've spent 23 years now doing.
How does it feel? Because you've helped schools, prosper, and then you
for short amounts of time.
They're like, here, they slide back down. Like, how do you feel, Matt? Like,
it's I don't get so personally tied up in it as I did those times, because it hurts, right? It's like you put a lot of motion and energy into helping, and they got a couple of different people. They got much bigger, and then they were come back down. But it was really, there's going to be ebbs and flows in business. You're going to go up, you're going to come back a little, go up, but you should constantly be kind of seesawing towards the top, a little slight angle. Mainly it's just because often their dreams are what their idea and picture of success was not my picture of success, if that makes sense. And sometimes I think a lot of it, looking back, it's basically poor communication. Right, maybe I could communicate it
with you and them, and then
you.
Okay.
Yeah, maybe I could have communicated better. What does success actually look like for you? Is success $10,000 a month in cleared money, income? Because it's not really $10,000, because you're going to have to reinvest, right, to keep going, because there's always competition behind you coming for you. So you don't, if you pay all your bills and you got $10,000 left, you really don't have $10,000 left. Because you're going to have to allot some of that money to go back into the marketing budget so that you can just keep up to keep the $10,000, right? And then it's 20, and then some get to 30, 40, 50, 60, whatever it is. But what it took you to get to that point, it's going to take you more to do. So it is aggravating watching it. It's just aggravating sometimes watching what they don't keep on doing. And many of them also don't understand the importance of real estate. They don't understand that at the end, whenever that end is, for some of them sooner than others, right? But they don't understand that your entire profit can often be the real estate that you're sitting in. So what they wind up doing is they wind up leasing space from some place forever. They never own it. So they're just constantly paying the rent, and that's fine if you got huge amounts of cash flow, and if you got good cash flow, and you have multiple locations, because that cash flow in those multiple locations can come up to be a large stack of money at the end. But most people, if they have one location, you're going to have some money stacked up, but your real windfall is going to be a sale of that building at the end when you're done with it, or more important, I mean, there's different financing terms that you can do. Don't sell your building. And people say, well, what are you talking about? And I'm like, well, I've been in conversations before where you can create something that's called a sinking fund for your business. And they're like, well, what's that? And I'm like, well, large businesses do it all the time, but martial arts centers could do it too, because a lot of them employ their wife in the martial arts center, or employ their husband in the martial arts center, because you can pay that person a salary. Yeah, it'll take time for you to replace that. So a business can pay like life insurance policies on all these people at the top.
Oh wow! Okay.
And that's an expense. So if, let's say it'll cost you $150,000 a year for life insurance policy on these top people, right? With a smaller company, probably not that much, but let's say it's $100,000 for easy math. Well, if they're paying those policies, the company owns the policies, not those individuals, right? So at the end, see, the company's paying it. You're not paying taxes on that $100,000.
Oh, okay, wow.
Because it's considered an expense. But if you do that 10, 15 years, what do you got?
Jesus, hey.
You've got $1.5 million, $1 million, $1.5 million, and it's not really that, because on most of these insurance policies, on cash value policies like that, they're paying like 6%, 7% interest, compounded. So you compound that every year. All of a sudden, this company is sitting with this sinking fund, meaning a fund sitting there that is just cash rich. So you don't ever have to take a loan anymore. And so what happens if at the end you want to sell your business, right? Well, you can take a loan from that policy, and you can take $1.5 million, $2 million, whatever's out. You can take 90% of that policy out for you to fund yourself, right? To sell, and then owner finance your business away, so they're paying you every month.
Okay, yeah.
There's several different ways to do it where you can own the business forever, or maybe a separate business actually owns the building, and then your business, martial arts center, exists on the outside, leasing the space from your other business. See how that works? Now there's tax advantages there. So a lot of I've run
very
into
big picture, like
very big picture that
you got to look years,
and there's this asset there, right? And the asset in most people's situation is their time and their knowledge, right? They're teaching martial arts, they're teaching jiu-jitsu, right? That's all they see. All what they see is, oh, I've got 300 students and they're paying me $100 a month, and that's it.
That's all we got.
That's what I got.
Can't afford it.
And then I'm going to pay my bills, and this is what's going to be left over. You've got to think, if you really are a business person, this is your business, you have to think bigger. Okay, I have this money. That's great. But how do I grow? And how do I own my own real estate? How do I structure the real estate to sit within my business? How am I going to pay for this real estate? Is the business going to pay for it? Am I going to pay for it? What's my exit strategy? Do I create a sinking fund like what I've talked about, or do I create ghost stock so that my instructors have ownership in the business, which, we could change it from LLC to S Corp to a C Corp. So now they have ownership in the business by the time they work there, because most of the instructors don't have the money anyway. So if you give me 5 years of instructing, you're going to get so much stock of this C Corp, right? Now you could leave me, and if you leave me, you can keep your stock, and if this C Corp ever sells, then you'll get your stock, you'll get your amount later. There's so many different ways that you can do this, but until they start, these martial arts centers, our friends, jiu-jitsu places, start thinking bigger picture, it's going to continue to be exactly the way it is.
Yeah.
And if you want an instructor, good instruction that doesn't leave you, that doesn't, pack up in the middle of the night and move. What's your non-compete? Well, it's 20 miles. Well, move 21 miles away from you and set up a new school and, pull whatever, 50% of your students over there. Then you're going to have to create some teeth in your business model to keep them there. And that teeth is, well, I could go over here and set up my own school and have all the risk and all the expenses and all that. Or I could keep what I got right here, which is pretty good. Yeah. And I'm gaining ownership in this. And at some point, maybe I want to buy this C Corp. Maybe I want to buy this business.
Yeah,